The cold metal floors of Luna Base 7 echoed with the footsteps of three alien beings as they walked deeper into the abandoned human facility. Dr. Keth Varnax led the way with his scanning device beeping softly in the darkness while his two companions followed close behind him through the narrow corridors that had not seen life for over 300 years. The Zilani archaeologist stopped suddenly and raised his clawed hand to signal the others to halt as his scanner detected something unusual behind the thick metal wall ahead of them. Yura Kolth moved closer to examine the readings on her own device while Commander Jorix Pale kept his weapon ready as he had been trained to do whenever exploring dangerous human ruins. "There is a hidden chamber behind this wall," Varnax said in his native tongue as he studied the energy readings that showed active power sources, still functioning after all these centuries. The discovery excited him because most human technology had long since failed or been destroyed by time and Neglectira, looked at the strange symbols carved into the metal surface and tried to translate the human writing that warned of dangerous contents within the sealed area. Her studies of human languages had prepared her for this moment, but the archaic military codes were difficult to understand. Completely, Commander Pale examined the wall structure and found the hidden entrance mechanism that the humans had concealed behind a false panel. His military experience told him that anything the humans had worked so hard to hide must be either very valuable or very dangerous to anyone who found it. The three aliens worked together to activate the ancient opening system that responded to their touches despite its great age. Lights flickered to life as the chamber unsealed itself with a hissing sound of escaping gases that had been trapped inside for centuries. What they found inside made all three of them step backward in surprise and wonder at the sight before their eyes. A single cryogenic pod sat in the center of the room, surrounded by advanced life support systems that continued to function perfectly after all this time. The pod contained a human male in perfect preservation, whose vital signs showed he was still alive despite being frozen for over 300 years. Warning labels in multiple human languages covered every surface of the chamber, but the aliens could only translate some of the simpler words. Dr. Varnax approached the pod carefully and read the identification plate that labeled the occupant as Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force Night Division. The title meant nothing to him, but the military rank suggested this human had been important to their war effort. Tira recorded everything with her equipment while studying the advanced technology that kept the human alive through systems more sophisticated than anything her people currently possessed. The humans had been primitive in many ways, but their life preservation methods were remarkably advanced. Commander Pale worried about the wisdom of disturbing what the humans had clearly intended to remain sealed until some future time. His orders were to catalog human artifacts, but this discovery went far beyond simple archaeological specimens. The debate between the three aliens grew heated as Dr. Varnax argued for awakening the human to gather historical information, while Commander Pale insisted they should report the find to higher authorities before taking any action that might prove dangerous. Sira listened to both arguments while studying the pod controls that seemed designed for easy activation by someone with basic technical knowledge. The humans had obviously intended for this person to be awakened eventually, but probably not by alien archaeologists. During their discussion about what to do next, a power fluctuation caused by their equipment created an electrical surge that traveled through the ancient systems. Warning lights began flashing as the automated revival sequence started itself without any input from the arguing aliens. The three explorers watched in fascination and growing alarm as the cryogenic pod began its programmed awakening cycle that would bring the last surviving human back to consciousness after sleeping for centuries in the cold darkness of space. Steam rose from the pod as warming systems activated and life support readings changed from maintenance mode to active revival protocols. The process could not be stopped once begun according to the warning messages that appeared on screens around the chamber. Dr. Varnax prepared his recording equipment to document the historic moment when the first human in over 300 years would open his eyes to see a galaxy that no longer belonged to his species. Commander Pale checked his weapons and called for backup troops to be ready in case the awakening human proved hostile. watched the vital signs monitor as the human heartbeat grew stronger and brain activity increased toward normal levels. She felt both excitement and sadness, knowing this being would soon learn that his entire species had been extinct for centuries. The pod opened with a soft mechanical sound as Jake Morrison took his first breath of air in 300 years. His enhanced physiology began responding to consciousness as systems designed by human scientists worked to restore his strength and awareness. His eyes opened slowly and focused on the three alien faces looking down at him with curiosity and caution. Jake Morrison, the last human. Night had awakened to find himself alone among the stars in a universe where everything he had fought to protect was gone forever. Jake Morrison felt the cold leaving his body as warmth returned to muscles that had not moved for centuries, but his enhanced healing systems worked quickly to restore normal function to his augmented physiology. The faces above him were not human, and this fact registered immediately in his tactical awareness training. His throat felt dry as ancient air recycling systems provided oxygen while his body adjusted to consciousness after the longest sleep in human history. The aliens stepped back when he tried to sit up, and their defensive postures told him they were uncertain about his intentions. Words came slowly at first as Jake tested his voice and found the translation device they placed near him could convert his speech into their languages. The technology was more advanced than anything he remembered from his time, but 3 centuries would naturally bring such progress. "Where am I?" he asked in a voice that sounded strange to his own ears after so long without speaking. Dr. Vornax answered in careful words that the translation device converted into English, telling him he was on Luna Base 7 in the year 2387. The number hit Jake like a physical blow as he realized how much time had passed since the Night Division had placed him in emergency cryogenic storage during the final days of the war. His enhanced memory systems began accessing files about Project Last Hope, and the desperate situation that had led to his preservation here showed him images of Earth taken from space, and Jake saw the brown wasteland that had once been blue and green with life. The cities were gone and the oceans had dried up, leaving only dust where billions of humans had lived and worked and loved. "What happened to my people?" Jake asked, though he feared the answer would confirm his worst assumptions about how the war had ended. Commander Pale explained through the translator that humanity had been completely eliminated during what they called the Great Purge of 2089. The words struck deeper than any physical wound Jake had ever received in battle. Every person he had known and every place he had called home was gone forever, along with the entire human civilization that had struggled to survive among the stars. Dr. Vernax showed him historical records of the final battles where human forces had fought desperately against overwhelming odds, before being systematically destroyed by superior alien technology and numbers. The documentation was thorough and left no doubt about the completeness of human extinction. Jake closed his eyes and accessed his internal memory files that contained faces and voices of fellow knights who had served alongside him in humanity's elite fighting force. His enhanced emotional regulation systems helped him process the grief while maintaining functional thinking capacity. The aliens watched him carefully as he learned about the current state of the galaxy, where various species had divided human territories and resources among themselves. Earth itself had become a barren memorial that few beings bothered to visit anymore. Ira began sharing more detailed information about what had happened to human colonies on distant worlds during the Great Purge. Most had been destroyed completely, but some populations had been captured and transported to other systems for various purposes. This revelation brought Jake back to full alertness as his tactical programming identified a potential mission objective among the devastating news. If any humans had survived as prisoners or slaves, then his duty as a knight was clear regardless of how much time had passed. Dr. Vernax became fascinated by Jake's psychological resilience as the human processed information that should have broken any normal person's spirit. The knight training and genetic enhancements had created someone capable of functioning under extreme stress and loss. Commander Pale began testing Jake's physical capabilities by asking him to perform simple tasks that gradually became more complex. The human strength and speed impressed even veteran Zilani military observers who had never seen such abilities in any species. Jake demonstrated enhanced reflexes by catching objects thrown at him from multiple directions while solving mathematical problems that required advanced computation skills. His neural implants processed information faster than biological brains, while his physical modifications provided superhuman performance. The testing revealed that Jake's combat capabilities remained intact despite the long sleep, and that his strategic thinking had actually improved as his enhanced mind had continued developing during cryogenic storage. He was arguably more dangerous now than when first Frozen Yura began providing Jake with information about current galactic politics and the locations where human survivors might still exist as slaves or servants to alien masters. Her sympathy for his situation led her to share more than her orders allowed. Jake studied the data carefully and began formulating preliminary plans for locating and potentially rescuing any remaining humans scattered across multiple star systems. His night programming identified this as his primary mission now that Earth was beyond saving. The aliens noticed changes in Jake's behavior as he shifted from processing grief to planning action. His questions became more focused on military capabilities and resource availability rather than historical information about what had been lost. Dr. Vernax realized he was witnessing something unprecedented as the last representative of an extinct species transformed from a specimen to be studied into a force that might reshape galactic civilization. The human's determination seemed to grow stronger rather than weaker as he learned more. Commander Pale increased security around the facility as he recognized the potential danger posed by an enhanced human soldier with nothing left to lose except the slim hope of finding others of his kind somewhere among the stars. Jake Morrison had awakened to a galaxy where everything he had fought for was gone, but his purpose as a protector remained unchanged and perhaps even more important than ever before. News of the awakened human knight spread through alien communication networks faster than any of the three archaeologists had expected as word reached military commands and political leaders across multiple star systems within days of Jake's revival. The reaction varied greatly depending on each species' history with humanity during the war. The Thrakari Confederacy sent immediate inquiries about acquiring Jake Morrison for their own military research programs while offering substantial payments to the Zilani Empire for access to the enhanced human soldier. Their aggressive expansion had stalled recently, and they saw potential advantages in studying human combat techniques. Meanwhile, the peaceful Eldari expressed concern about reawakening human warfare capabilities that had once threatened galactic stability during the violent conflicts of the previous century. Their representatives requested that Jake be kept under careful observation to prevent any resumption of human military activities. Jake used his time in the facility to gather intelligence about current galactic politics while appearing to cooperate with his alien captors who continued their tests and interviews. His enhanced cognitive abilities allowed him to process vast amounts of information while maintaining the appearance of simple compliance. Dr. Vernax found himself increasingly conflicted as he spent more time with Jake and began to understand the human's intelligence and determination. The Zilani archaeologist had expected to find a primitive warrior, but instead discovered someone with advanced tactical thinking and genuine concern for others. Against direct orders from his superiors, Dr. Vernax began providing Jake with access to historical databases that contained information about human refugee populations scattered across distant worlds. The records showed approximately 50,000 humans survived in various states of captivity or servitude. Jake learned that the largest group of human survivors worked in mining operations on Kepler 442b under Thrakari supervision, while smaller populations served as laborers on agricultural worlds or domestic servants in alien households. Their descendants had been born into slavery and knew little about their heritage. Commander Pale grew suspicious of the increased data access and began monitoring Jake's activities more closely while restricting his movement within the facility. The military officer sensed that the human was planning something beyond simple cooperation with their research efforts. The breakthrough came when Yura fell into a collapsed section of the excavation site while exploring deeper levels of the lunar Base. Jake heard her distress calls through the facility's communication system and immediately moved to help. Despite the risk to himself using his enhanced strength and speed, Jake descended into the unstable debris field where Yira was trapped beneath. Heavy metal beams that would have crushed any normal person. His night training included advanced rescue techniques that allowed him to extract her safely. Rescue demonstrated Jake's selfless nature and contradicted the historical propaganda that portrayed humans as violent, monsters interested only in conquest and destruction. Yira realized that the official records about human cruelty might have been exaggerated or deliberately falsified. Her gratitude toward Jake and growing understanding of human character led Yira to make a decision that would change everything for both species. She began secretly helping Jake access navigation data and star charts that showed routes to worlds where human survivors might be found. Jake used the information to study possible rescue missions while identifying weaknesses in alien security systems that had grown complacent during centuries of unchallenged dominance. His strategic mind began developing comprehensive plans for liberating human populations. The opportunity for escape came when a routine supply transport arrived at Luna Base 7 carrying materials for the ongoing excavation project. Jake had been studying the facility's systems and knew exactly how to create the diversion he needed during a scheduled power maintenance cycle. Jake activated emergency protocols that sealed various sections of the base while creating confusion among the staff. The chaos allowed him to reach the transport bay where Yira waited with a small ship and essential supplies. "Why are you helping me?" Jake asked as they prepared to leave the facility where he had spent his first weeks in this strange new galaxy. Yira looked at him with determination and said she believed humans deserved the chance to be free regardless of what history claimed about their past. The escape ship left Luna Base 7 just as security forces discovered Jake's absence and began pursuit protocols. Commander Pale coordinated the search efforts while Dr. Vernex realized he would face serious consequences for allowing the human access to restricted information. Jake programmed their destination as Kepler 442b, where 3,000 human descendants worked in brutal mining conditions under alien supervision. The journey would take several days, during which he planned to prepare for the most important mission of his military career, provided him with detailed information about Ferkari security procedures and the layout of mining facilities that held human workers. Her knowledge of alien technology and customs would prove invaluable in planning a successful liberation operation. As their ship traveled through hyperspace toward the mining world, Jake Morrison prepared for the first step in a campaign that would either free his people or end with his death in the attempt. Either outcome seemed preferable to leaving humans in slavery while he lived in captivity. The last human knight was finally free and moving toward his destiny among the stars, where the fate of his species would be decided by courage and determination, rather than superior technology or overwhelming numbers. The mining world of Kepler 442b appeared as a brown sphere marked by huge excavation sites, visible even from orbit as Jake and Yira approached in their stolen transport ship. Massive industrial complexes dotted the surface where valuable minerals were extracted by workers who had never seen freedom. Jake studied the planet's defensive systems while Yira helped him understand Ferkari security protocols that relied more on intimidation than actual military strength. The aliens had grown comfortable with their dominance and did not expect serious resistance from enslaved populations. Their ship landed at a commercial port where mixed cargo transports arrived regularly with supplies for the mining operations. Jake disguised himself as a maintenance worker while Yira posed as his alien supervisor to avoid suspicion from security patrols. The human living areas were located in underground tunnels beneath the main mining complex, where 3,000 people existed in conditions barely adequate for survival. The descendants of captured humans had been taught to accept their situation as natural and permanent. Jake entered the worker quarters during a shift change when tired miners returned from dangerous excavation sites that claimed lives regularly through accidents and equipment failures. The people looked exhausted and defeated after generations of slavery. Under alien role, he moved carefully among the workers while observing their daily routines and identifying individuals who might possess leadership qualities despite their oppressed circumstances. Most had given up hope, but Jake sensed underlying strength in some that could be awakened with proper motivation. Kate Sullivan caught his attention immediately as she helped an injured miner reach the medical station despite her own exhaustion from a 12-hour shift in the deepest tunnels. Her natural compassion and willingness to help others marked her as someone worth developing. Ben Rodriguez demonstrated technical skills as he repaired broken equipment with improvised tools and creative solutions that impressed Jake's military engineering background. The man's intelligence had survived despite limited educational opportunities in the slave camps. Jake spent several days working alongside the humans while learning their individual stories and understanding how the alien overseers maintained control through fear and systematic degradation of human dignity and self-worth. The psychological warfare was as effective as physical chains. He began subtle conversations with selected individuals about their ancestry and the history their grandparents might have remembered from before the Great Purge. Most knew only fragments, but these pieces of human heritage became building blocks for renewed pride. Kate questioned Jake about his knowledge of human history and his unusual physical capabilities that exceeded normal human limits. Her curiosity and intelligence made her a natural choice for leadership development despite her initial skepticism about resistance possibilities. Ben noticed that Jake understood complex technical systems better than anyone in the facility, including some of the alien supervisors. This expertise, combined with his willingness to share knowledge, earned him respect among the technical workers who maintained mining equipment. The breakthrough came when Jake revealed his true identity to a small group during a secret meeting in an abandoned storage area deep within the worker tunnels. The knowledge that a real soldier from humanity's past had come to help them created the spark needed for rebellion. Kate immediately grasped the implications of having an enhanced knight among them, while Ben focused on practical questions about weapons and tactics needed for successful resistance. Their different perspectives would complement each other perfectly in the coming struggle. Jake began training his selected recruits in basic combat techniques adapted for their limited resources and physical conditioning. His enhanced abilities allowed him to demonstrate moves that seemed impossible but could be learned through practice and determination. The group practiced in secret during rest periods while maintaining normal work schedules to avoid suspicion from Thrakari overseers, who monitored human activities for signs of trouble. Jake taught them to use mining tools as weapons and to coordinate team movements. Ira provided intelligence about security shift changes and weak points in the facility's defensive systems while pretending to conduct routine inspections as part of her cover identity. Her assistance proved crucial for timing the liberation attempt properly. Jake's tactical planning identified the optimal moment for action when most guards would be occupied with routine duties and communication systems could be disrupted before reinforcements arrived. The window of opportunity would be brief but sufficient for trained fighters. The liberation began at dawn when Jake and his team moved simultaneously against multiple targets throughout the mining complex. Their coordination and surprise overwhelmed guards who had never faced organized human resistance before. Kate led one group in securing the communication center while Ben's team took control of power systems that could be used to trap guards or provide advantages to the human fighters. Jake handled the most dangerous targets personally with his enhanced combat abilities. The battle was swift and decisive as 3 centuries of anger and frustration found release through coordinated action against their oppressors. Thrakari guards surrendered quickly when faced with determined humans who fought with skill they had not expected from slaves. Jake used captured communication equipment to broadcast his message across the galaxy, declaring that Jake Morrison, Knight of Earth, was alive and coming to liberate all remaining humans wherever they might be found among the stars. Jake's broadcast message spread across galactic communication networks, reaching every world where human survivors lived in captivity and slavery under alien masters who had grown comfortable with their dominance over the scattered descendants of humanity. The response was immediate and dramatic as hope awakened in hearts that had forgotten such feelings on agricultural worlds where humans tended alien crops. Small acts of sabotage began occurring as workers remembered they were more than property to be owned and exploited. Equipment mysteriously failed and harvests suffered delays while overseers struggled to understand why their normally compliant laborers had become troublesome. The Zilani Empire responded by increasing security around human populations and threatening severe punishment for any signs of rebellion or resistance. Their harsh measures only proved Jake's point about alien tyranny to other species who began questioning the morality of keeping sentient beings in slavery. Kate Sullivan proved herself an exceptional strategist as she helped Jake organize liberation missions using captured Thrakari ships and equipment taken during their successful rebellion on Kepler 442b. Her natural leadership abilities had flourished. Once given proper direction and purpose, Ben Rodriguez led technical teams in reverse engineering alien technology and adapting captured weapons for human use, while developing communication systems that could coordinate resistance activities across multiple star systems. His innovations gave human forces capabilities their enemies had not expected. Each successful rescue mission added more people to Jake's growing liberation fleet as freed humans brought local knowledge and specialized skills that enhanced their military effectiveness. Former slaves became soldiers fighting for the freedom of others still in captivity. The Eldari Confederation began providing covert assistance to human liberation efforts after witnessing Zilani brutality toward prisoners and recognizing the justice of Jake's cause. Their advanced medical technology helped treat humans suffering from generations of poor living conditions and abuse. Jake's tactical genius became legendary throughout the galaxy as he adapted human military doctrine to work against technologically superior alien forces, using mobility and psychological warfare to overcome disadvantages in numbers and equipment. His enhanced abilities made him personally formidable, but his real strength lay in inspiring others. The liberation of New Virginia required complex coordination between multiple human teams as Jake planned simultaneous strikes against 6 different slave camps scattered across the planet's surface. The operation succeeded because each team leader had been trained in night division tactics. 5,000 humans gained their freedom during the New Virginia operation, including children who had never known anything except servitude to alien masters. Jake established mobile training centers where former slaves could learn combat skills and remember their human heritage. Dr. Vornax secretly documented the resurgence of human military capability while hiding his activities from Zilani authorities, who would have considered his research treasonous. He realized he was witnessing something unprecedented as an entire species returned from the edge of extinction. The Empire made a critical error when they attempted to execute human prisoners as an example to discourage further resistance activities. Jake's response was swift and merciless as he destroyed an entire Zilani fleet in retaliation, demonstrating that humanity's protector would tolerate no harm to his people. Word of the fleet destruction spread terror through alien military commands, who had underestimated human warfare capabilities and the determination of their enhanced leader. Jake Morrison had become more than a soldier. He was the living symbol of human resurgence. Gate coordinated intelligence gathering operations that identified the locations of remaining human populations, while Ben developed new weapon systems that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. Their partnership had become essential to liberation efforts. The Thrakari Confederacy began withdrawing from systems with human populations rather than face Jake's liberation forces in direct combat. Their retreat freed thousands of people without requiring costly battles that might have resulted in civilian casualties. Jake established temporary bases on liberated worlds, where humans could recover from slavery while training to join the liberation fleet or help establish new communities free from alien domination. Each success built momentum for the next mission. The psychological impact of human resurgence affected alien politics as species that had participated in the Great Purge began questioning whether their actions had been justified. Some began offering reparations while others prepared for possible retaliation. Jake refused demands for revenge against alien civilians, and instead focused his efforts on freeing remaining human populations while building alliances with species willing to support freedom and justice. His restraint impressed potential allies who had feared human brutality. The Liberation Fleet grew to include ships crewed by humans alongside alien volunteers who believed in the justice of their cause. This cooperation demonstrated that different species could work together as equals. Rather than masters and slaves, Ben's technical innovations allowed human ships to match alien technology, while Jake's tactical training created crews capable of fighting effectively against numerically superior forces. The combination made liberation missions increasingly successful. Kate established diplomatic contacts with alien governments willing to negotiate for the peaceful transfer of human populations. Rather than face military liberation, her skills complemented Jake's warrior abilities by providing alternatives to constant warfare. As the human resurgence gained momentum, Jake began planning for the final confrontation that would determine whether his people would truly be free or remain scattered refugees dependent on alien tolerance for their survival. The final confrontation between Jake's Liberation Fleet and the Zilani Imperial Armada took place in the ruins of Earth's solar system, where humanity had once thrived before the Great Purge reduced their homeworld to lifeless dust. The Empire chose this location, believing the symbolism would crush human morale and end the rebellion. Instead, the sight of their ancestral home energized every human fighter as they remembered what had been taken from them and resolved to ensure no other species would suffer the same fate. Jake felt the weight of history as his fleet approached the massive alien force arrayed between them and Earth. The Zilani commander broadcast ultimatum demanding surrender and promising merciful treatment for humans who submitted to continued slavery under improved conditions. Jake's response was to order all ships to attack formation while broadcasting the real history of alien war crimes to every receiver in the galaxy. What followed was not simply a space battle, but a demonstration of everything Jake had learned about, combining human tactics with enhanced capabilities and superior motivation. His neural implants allowed him to coordinate thousands of ships simultaneously while processing tactical data faster than any biological brain. Kate commanded the left wing of the human formation, with ships crewed by former slaves who fought with desperate courage, knowing that defeat meant returning to captivity or death. Her strategic mind complemented Jake's tactical genius as they adapted their plans to changing battle conditions. Ben's technical innovations proved decisive as modified human weapons penetrated Zilani shields that had been considered impregnable by conventional forces. The combination of human engineering with captured alien technology created capabilities neither side had possessed separately. The turning point came when Jake broadcast evidence of Zilani war crimes, including the systematic murder of human civilians and the deliberate destruction of peaceful colonies that had offered no military threat. His documentation exposed decades of propaganda that had justified the Great Purge. Alien species throughout the galaxy watched the battle through communication networks and saw proof that the Zilani Empire had committed genocide against humanity while claiming to be defenders of galactic peace. The evidence turned public opinion against the Empire. Thrakari forces that had been approaching to support the Zilani suddenly changed sides mid-battle as their commanders realized they were defending a regime built on lies and murder. The betrayal caught Imperial forces completely off guard. The Eldari formally condemned Zilani actions and declared their support for human freedom, while providing medical assistance to wounded fighters from both sides. Their moral authority influenced neutral species to abandon the Empire and demand justice for past crimes. Even some Zilani military units refused to continue fighting once they learned the truth about what their government had done in their name. The Empire's political structure began collapsing as quickly as their military formation as commanders surrendered rather than defend the indefensible. Jake could have destroyed the remaining Imperial forces, but instead offered terms that would establish a new galactic government based on equality and justice for all species. His restraint proved that humans sought freedom rather than revenge despite their suffering. The Galactic Federation was born from the ashes of the Zilani Empire as representatives from dozens of species gathered to write a charter guaranteeing rights and freedoms that would prevent future genocides. Jake insisted that humans be equal partners rather than dominant leaders. Kate became the first human ambassador to the Federation, while Ben led technological exchange programs that combined the best innovations from all member species. Their roles demonstrated that humanity contributed more than military strength to galactic civilization. Vernax published his complete documentation of human resurgence, showing how one individual's determination had changed the course of galactic history through courage and moral leadership rather than conquest and domination. His work became required reading in Federation schools. The Federation established its capital at New Geneva Station, built in Earth's orbit as a memorial to humanity's sacrifice and a symbol of hope for all species seeking freedom from oppression. The location honored the past while building toward a better future. Jake stood on the observation deck, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for the first Federation assembly where former enemies would work together as equals. Kate approached, with reports of successful integration programs helping former slaves adapt to freedom. Ben brought news of technological breakthroughs achieved through peaceful cooperation between species that had been enemies for centuries. A combination of different scientific traditions was producing innovations none could have achieved alone. Rehabilitation centers on liberated worlds helped humans recover from generations of slavery while learning skills needed for citizenship in the new Federation. The process was slow but successful as people remembered their heritage and embraced their freedom. Jake reflected on how awakening to find his species extinct had led to the rebirth of not just humanity, but an entire galactic civilization based on justice and equality. The last human knight had become the first guardian of a truly free galaxy. The galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their warriors, but their refusal to surrender hope even in the darkest circumstances. This quality inspired other species to believe that better futures were always possible. Children born on Federation worlds would grow up knowing that freedom was worth fighting for and that cooperation between different peoples could accomplish more than any single species alone. Jake's legacy would live on through their commitment to justice. The stars that had once witnessed humanity's destruction now saw their renaissance as Jake Morrison completed his transformation from the last knight of a dead world into the first protector of a living galaxy where all beings could pursue their dreams in freedom.